Also, very unique name. Love it. And she's from ChefRDN. And, well, why don't you can debrief us a little bit and tell us, your story, why you're into health and wellness, and we can start from there.
Well, let's see here. My story goes far back into my childhood, of course, as is
of course.
with all nutrition and health. I really just developed this huge passion for food and nutrition because I had, I didn't have the best lifestyle growing up, and I wanted to make these changes, and it took me many years to implement. And so I first got started out in healthcare. I wanted to be a surgeon.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Cool.
so I went to school to be a surgeon, and, my mind kept drifting towards food. All I wanted to do was be in the kitchen. So I actually decided, this really isn't the speed that I want to be going at. I want to be talking directly to people. So then I thought, okay, what can I do? I decided to go into culinary arts, and my passion just kind of took off. And I was at Le Cordon Bleu for a while, and then my studies took me abroad to France, and I was cooking in Avignon, France.
Wow.
It was an incredible experience, but after cooking and seeing the way that the locals were interacting with food and how they respected food was so different from our culture here in America.
Yes.
And it was that relationship with food that made me feel like, okay, well, being a chef is really not going to be the end-all be-all. I need to do something a little bit more great. And, healthcare was still, kind of ticking on my mind, like I need to do something more than just cook in a kitchen. No one's going to listen to me. So I decided I'm going to go back to school. I went to the University of Minnesota and then got my degree in dietetics. I took off some time after that to work on a farm to understand and appreciate another aspect of food. So I was a farmhand at Riverbend Farm, which is a farm out in Delano, Minnesota. It was a fantastic experience. And again, learned a new appreciation. And then I got my dietitian license in Illinois. Took me to Chicago. It was a happy accident winding up in Chicago. I was doing a lot of traveling in South America, and my flight got stuck.
Oh,
so,
really?
Oh, really?
So I just decided, I need a new experience, a new place to live. So I just decided to,
So why not just stay here?
Just stay
Yeah,
here. So I got
I'll
an
just stay.
apartment. It took me a month before I got all my things to Chicago.
That's amazing.
I love it. I love it.
So
But,
good.
I needed to find a place that would be open to using both food and cooking, nutrition, all combined. Because if you think about the way that America is, it's two separate avenues. We're either really involved with the culinary arts, or it's down this dietitian pathway, which is more clinically focused. And I didn't want that clinical focus. I wanted to bring the two worlds together.
I love it.
So that's really why I decided to plant my seeds in Chicago, getting started first of all in dietetics. So I got my master's in clinical nutrition with an emphasis in plant-based nutrition, so vegan and vegetarianism.
Love it.
Yeah. So, and, I was, getting stuck into these roles of food service management because of my experience, and again, not doing what I wanted to do. So I left my cushy lifestyle in Chicago and decided I'm starting my own business. I'm going to be educating more. And so now that's what I do. I do nutrition counseling. I'm also a diabetic educator. I think that, diabetes it's certainly gotten out of control, and people just don't know how to eat. And I think it's, there's really basic, simple things that we can do into our diet so that we don't wind up with diabetes. Also addressing lifestyle.
Yes. Wow, what a story.
That's amazing. So cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, congrats. And honestly, what you're doing is really, really amazing. I was
Thank
complimenting her blog. And maybe this is a good shout out, actually. Everyone should take a look at her blog. It's fascinating, really great content. But you have found an intersection that's really important. I think people have, for some reason, food is now a convenience, and they go with whatever's quick and easy, and they're not putting any thought into that this is fueling your body. And we have one life to live, is what we always like to say here at Usurance. And food we have to be fueling our body the right way if we want to be doing the things that we want to do.
Absolutely. And we need
For as
to,
long as we want to do them.
For as long as we want to do them.
right. And I think, we're in this world of convenience, like you had mentioned. And so we're on the go all the time. And, we eat to feel satiated. We don't, we're not eating because, like there's this amazing, beautiful food and we should appreciate it. It's just we got to hurry up and eat so we can get to the next thing.
Yeah.
And so we need to step back, take a moment, enjoy our food. I mean, food is meant to be enjoyed, and we need to pay attention to those flavors and things that are going on in our mouth.
I love it. So when you're working with clients and maybe they're ready to make some change, they don't really know, where do you start? What do you suggest? What's the most important thing that someone can take away and like do today if they're listening to this podcast?
Well, the first thing that I do when a patient comes to me is we talk about, well, what is your current lifestyle like? And also emphasizing too that these lifestyle changes take a very long time to implement and that you're not going to see a benefit right away.
Yes.
Because, it takes about 30 days to start to develop a habit and about 6 months to develop more of a lifestyle change. And people come to me most often for weight loss or to help with their diabetes. And you're not going to see weight loss in a couple weeks, but that's what people expect. So it's first talking about the expectations and what does that mean, and starting to feel what's going on in the inside. So being more mindful and being in the present, I think, is super important to address.
So important.
So being a patient, they have to actually exercise some? Patience? Is that kind of what
yes,
you're saying?
Yes, exactly. They have to exercise patience.
I got it.
Yeah, so
I got
there's a lot of mental awareness that needs to go into this.
There is, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You got to set that expectation.
Right, and say that this is going to be a slow process. So you really encourage them to choose one or two things, one or two goals, and say, okay, this is going to take a while, and then once you feel comfortable and you feel confident that you can keep these goals permanent goals.
Yes.
That's why diets don't work.
Exactly.
It's lifestyle changes.
Yes. The fads have got to stop, and people go all in, like, I'm going to go to the gym every day for 7 days a week for 2 hours, and then it's like, you really can't maintain that.
Right.
Yeah.
And oftentimes when I say, okay, how many times a day do you think you can, or times a week can you exercise? And they'll say, 7 days. I go, is that realistic with your schedule? Because right now you're exercising 0 days.
Can and will.
Yeah,
Can
exactly.
and will.
Different.
Yeah.
You could exercise 7 days, but will you?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Right.
I think something that's also interesting is people always say, well, they don't have time. They don't have time to cook. They don't have time to work out. They don't have the time to do things. And, well, in reading, this is actually from Napoleon Hill, but he breaks down people's time in that you spend 8 hours a day sleeping, 8 hours a day working, and then you have 8 hours a day to do whatever you can do. And, like, when I heard that, I was like, oh, my God, I have a lot of free time. Like, I really got to make some serious changes and maybe get off the Instagram for an hour and, like, get on a treadmill for an hour. So I think the time thing is often maybe just an excuse that we use, but it is about being planful. And I don't know, maybe you have some tips about meal prepping or being smarter with our time.
I do a lot of meal prepping tips with my clients, and a lot of it is, if you really struggle with trying to plan a healthy diet, first go find some good tasting recipes, get a grocery list put in place, and it takes time to meal plan, but it saves you time down the road. So yes, you have to do a little bit of work in the beginning, as with everything, and over time it gets a lot easier. But, shop the sales if you're worried about pricing, because that's actually what's going to be in season, and it's going to be more nutritious for you. So, don't pick anything that's too wild and too crazy. A lot of recipes now come with cook times. So, if you're worried about spending hours in the kitchen, then look for that little part in the recipe. Also look for variety, and try not to overcomplicate things whatsoever. Try a few ingredients, but new ingredients, but maybe not for every single day or every meal. Stick to some favorites too that you like, but certainly meal planning can help, but also plan for days that you're not going to be in eating.
Yes.
So if you have a meeting, is it realistic that, if you have a 7 p.m. meeting, are you going to be able to go home and cook dinner that night? Maybe that's a night that you have leftovers from the previous night.
Nice.
So learning how to cook in advance as well. batch cook. You know, a lot of times what I like to do is I'll always have some kind of bean cooked, ready to go, as well as a different grain and then different vegetables.
Always in the fridge. You
always
can
in the
always
fridge.
heat it up easily.
Ready to go.
Love it.
Just cook, chop, ready to go.
Nice.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. And those
Nice.
are very, very easy, simple. That'll never not taste good, you know?
Right, and
Yeah.
you can take the same ingredients and just change the spices, and you have a whole new
Yeah.
world of flavor going on in your mouth. It's great.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so maybe they see. You brought with us a snack.
Yes. So
Let's do a little taste testing. We've never done that on the podcast
Yeah.
We
before.
haven't. This is day one.
Also,
of
just
this.
so you know, Clint over here, the podcasters know this, but Clint over here, he's our sweet tooth. He is a sucker for all the things baked goods.
And probably a sucker for diabetes.
I was
So this
going
is
to
super
say,
timely.
I was going
right,
to
I
say,
can help you with that.
you know, the way to his heart, but this is the type of desserts you should be eating, Clint.
I
So
guess I
let's-
should.
So
So
let's take
maybe
a
we
bite.
should.
Yes.
We
Let's
should
hear what's in it.
tell,
Please do.
Yeah, let's tell what's in it.
These are superfood brownie bites. Really easy. They're no bake. You simply just pulse nuts and seeds in a food processor with dates. Add a little bit of cacao powder. I added some mesquite powder as well, which has really great health benefits.
Love it.
And maca powder. And then some coconut. And that's about it. It's,
All right.
I
you know,
love
maybe
it.
8 ingredients.
Okay, you'll have to share the recipe, and then I'll put it in the
I
show
will.
notes.
I will, for sure.
All right, let's see how it goes. Oh, you just went for it. You just put the whole thing in your mouth.
Why not? Go
He's
big or
like,
go
"It's a
home.
bite."
I mean, it's not that big. It's a bite. It's not supposed to be 2 bites or 3 bites. It's delicious.
I'm sorry, I can't even
really
talk
good.
right now. I'm
Yeah.
enjoying my food. Excellent.
Really good.
Very good.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I love the coconut in there.
Yeah, that's really a strong flavor. That's really good.
So I kind of stole the idea from Whole Foods and from a lot of the co-ops. They often do these little energy bites. And so I just basically took one home. I sampled it. I'm like, I'm going to make the same thing at home.
I love it.
Because oftentimes you don't know what's truly in food, especially these packaged foods. You know, there's only 8 ingredients in here.
Yeah.
And
You
you
know,
probably
there's-
you probably spent $10 on your whole recipe,
Right.
getting all the ingredients instead of like $10 for this little thing.
Yes. And the skill that went into this, there's no skill. You just throw it in a processor.
All right, done.
That's about it.
Don't let her culinary degree scare anyone off here. She's
Yeah.
going to teach easy meals. Well, I'm-
Exactly.
Cool.
I'm super excited for them to, or our viewers to get in contact with you. But let's talk a little bit about, well, what's your favorite food? Let's just do like a fun quiz.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
If you had to pick one thing.
So I have 2 things.
Okay.
Because it's so hard to choose.
I know.
I love ice cream.
Oh, yes.
Yes, ice cream is my favorite. I just love how creamy, rich, dense it is. You know, and this is something I like to talk about too with people is that, you know, you can be healthy and you can be fit and you can like foods like ice cream. They can fit in any diet plan.
I love it.
Right? And so everything in moderation.
Right.
So I love my vanilla bean ice cream.
Yeah.
Delicious. Do you make your own?
I don't, because if I did, it'd be dangerous. See, I know my own limitations.
Yep.
She's
Big
like,
vat-
"Couldn't I just
big
eat
vat of
the
ice
whole
cream?"
thing?"
Right, exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah. I
Fair.
also really like mushrooms. So I'll do a lot with
Really?
different wild mushrooms, doing mushroom toast with a poached egg on it or a soft boiled egg on the side.
Yum.
There's so many different varieties of mushrooms. So I just think that, you know, it's endless, the possibilities.
Ice cream and mushrooms.
Yeah,
totally
there's mushroom.
separate, not
Well,
together.
mushroom. Actually, mushroom ice cream is fantastic.
Really?
Yeah. Morel
Doesn't
ice
sound
cream.
like very good.
I'm like, mushroom.
It's great.
Maybe,
All right.
maybe we could
We're
have
going to
an-
vote for this.
have
There's
an-
going to be a social poll
Okay,
going on.
so-
have an
Okay.
avocado
Yes,
with
think-
it, maybe. I don't know. What do you think?
Avocado ice cream, also great.
Yeah, avocado ice cream. Now I can get that. I can get behind that, even though it's green and I don't know, but yeah, for sure. Okay, well we're doing a social poll.
But what's the favorite mushroom?
What is my
What is
favorite?
your favorite mushroom?
Oh goodness, I don't know if I could decide.
Because I've seen these shows where they
Yeah.
harvest these big giant, like, what was it called, chicken of the
Chicken of the woods, hen of the woods.
right? These big
Yeah.
giant mushrooms that look
There's chaga and morels, shiitake, and
Yeah.
there's also Midwest shiitake mushrooms that are pretty interesting that you can find here. They don't talk about them as much. They kind of look like a domed Chinese mushroom with like a brainy side on the top. They're really cool looking.
Interesting.
Yeah, but enoki mushrooms are great, and they all have different uses. So sometimes you might want to do them raw. There's like a light saute. So and there's many great health benefits to mushrooms, especially on the mental side. So lots of cognition and better sleep. Yeah.
But don't go harvesting your own mushrooms till you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
Probably
That's fair?
don't suggest that.
Probably not a good thing.
You can actually take foraged mushrooms and bring them to the mycology department at the University of Minnesota, and they'll help identify them. So if you were scared or if you didn't know which ones were edible, you could always bring them there.
That
cool.
is very cool.
Yeah.
Wild mushrooms. Get that lab tested. I love it. Okay, so what's the coolest or the dish that you've created that you're the most proud of?
The most proud of?
Yeah.
Well, another favorite food, lasagna. And so I try to make things and modify them to meet certain dietary restrictions, and my mother cannot eat eggs. So with pasta from scratch includes eggs. And so what I did was I made squash pasta. So I took a couple different types of squash, roasted them, pureed them. It was a very long process. Then let it basically drain, get all the moisture out, and then I made a dough out of it. Rolled it out. So I made my sheets of lasagna, and then I did 2 different sauces. I did a traditional marinara, and then I did a carrot top pesto.
Yum.
So
That sounds delicious.
Wow.
it was incredible. I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was probably one of my prouder moments.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure she's like, I haven't had lasagna forever. Like, yeah. Oh, that's such a staple, great food. I love lasagna.
Yeah, it's so good.
I wasn't going to say lasagna is my favorite food, but it might be.
Pretty high up there.
Yeah, it's pretty high up there anyways. What's your favorite food?
My
Clay?
favorite food,
You can't say cookies.
but it's true. But it's not true. Cookies not my favorite food. It's my favorite after food.
Yes.
I would say, I really like. I'm a meat eater, so I like steak. I like pork.
Okay.
It's good.
Meat eater.
Good.
All right. Well,
Yep.
you guys.
But I gotta figure out
the
how to.
same thing going on.
But I don't eat it that often. I think
Yeah.
that's to your
I
point,
think
right? If you have it every
absolutely.
single day,
Yeah, of
that's not
course.
so good. But if you have it sporadically, it's not something you enjoy, and then you enjoy it that much more.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think that's a very good point. Yeah, because oftentimes people think they can't have something like, oh, that's just not healthy. I can't have that. And
Yeah.
no, you can have it just in moderation, and unless it's soda, I will say, just
like-
stop drinking soda.
Yeah, it's not
The
so
whole
good.
world just needs to stop drinking soda.
Yes.
Seriously, it's kind of a problem.
Yeah. Well, and by the whole world, just basically the
Well,
United
Americans.
States.
Well,
Yeah.
It's not really like a thing. It's not a part of your daily life. At least anywhere I've traveled, it's never been a part of like sodas just everywhere and
No.
people drink soda like instead of coffee in the morning. It's here. It's very different.
Absolutely.
I think-
I have patients who come in and they'll tell me, I mean, this is very common, anywhere from 1 to 2 liters of soda a day.
Oh my god.
A day.
Wow.
I know. I mean, it's funny. I have to like practice that shocked look
I know.
sometimes.
I was like,
when I hear
wow.
what people. I mean, nothing will shock me anymore.
Yeah.
What people eat.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and I think, unfortunately, sugar becomes an addiction, and people
Yeah.
like it gets, and then even diet sodas too. But it really gets in. That's just part of your regular routine, and like everything else, it's a habit or a
Yep.
routine, and it's just not a good one.
well, and I also don't think that people are taught enough about nutrition and the effects it has on your body.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, I have to do a lot of basic education on what is a carbohydrate, what is protein, and what is fat, and what's a good proportion of each. People have no idea what foods do to their body.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to these fried, high sugary foods.
Totally.
That's very common in the American diet.
So what do you think we're going to do to be able to start to change this?
I think that it's slowly incorporating some of these fresh whole foods into our diet and trying to not necessarily avoid those foods, those fried foods or fatty foods, because we do need fat in our diet. About 30% of our diet should come from fat, but it's choosing more healthy fats on most days of the week, right? And so it's slowly transitioning. It's really challenging for you just to stop cold turkey and start this new lifestyle. That's when people fail.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're going to feel like they can't sustain it and then go back to their old ways. You know, yo-yo dieting is incredibly hard on the body.
Oh, it is.
So I always tell people, okay, you know, people come to me saying, I need to be on this diet. How do I do this? And it's more around the conversation of, well, a diet isn't the answer. It's a lifestyle change.
I
and
love that.
Is this something that you can sustain? Because so many people come to me with the ketogenic diet. That's probably the more popular one these days. And it's, you know, if you feel you can eat that much fat in a day, well, then maybe it's a good diet for you if it makes you feel great. Right now, we just don't know a lot of the long-term data, what that means going forward. It's just too young to say.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean,
Yeah.
So one of the challenges I've seen in any kind of modification in what you're eating is the cost associated with that, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
some of the healthier foods, it's more expensive than some of the more convenient, less expensive or less healthy foods. So how do you coach your patients on how to either stay within a budget and still be able to do that, or start to transition how they buy their food?
so a lot of it is less of the convenience foods because there's so much more of the money is spent outside of the home than in the home preparing food. So if we
Yes.
just shifted away from less of the convenience to more making food, because I mean, you can buy a whole pound of carrots for what, $2? I mean, and that's healthy. And you know, buying things in season is also going to be healthy. Shopping the sales of the produce is going to be healthier.
Right.
You know, if we buy in bulk, for instance, or trying, you know, going to the bulk aisles where you can pick the different grains and you can try different things to see, you know, expand your palate because each food has something different to offer in the health spectrum, different vitamins and minerals. I like to tell my clients, eat the rainbow. Is there a color you're missing in your diet? Maybe you should think about getting more of that color in, sneaking it in.
I love that. I love that. I think, and like fresh, just beautiful food. Your plates are gonna look beautiful, and you'll have a
Right.
whole new appreciation for eating if you're trying to do that. I love that. Eat a rainbow diet.
The rainbow.
That would be a subtitle for this
Hashtag.
pod. Yeah. No, I really love that. And I think, you know, another thing I actually think our mutual friend Alex from Avocadish always, I think he was the one that said, you pay now or you pay later. And I think it's so true. It's like, even if it does cost a little bit more, what are your goals? What do you want to be really doing? And is that more important than other things? And when it is, and your why is there, and you're determined to make a change, pay now. Otherwise, you're taking
Absolutely.
years off of your life by drinking soda and eating fast food. And
Well,
Right.
I
You're
think
gonna
that
pay
was
for
the
it
big
later.
thing that you said is that if you transition the money that you spent at McDonald's and whatever
Yeah.
fast food you're eating, if you transition that into your at-home budget and then aligned your priorities with around when and where you're going to eat, then I think you'll
Genius.
find that you're probably saving money.
Exactly. So again, it comes to that planning. And it's not like it takes that much time to plan. It does become part of you after a while. So
Definitely.
you don't even have to think about it. It's just second nature.
Yeah, definitely. It's part of my Sunday routine now. It's like meal prepping. I finally get to catch up on some shows or podcasts or whatever it is, you know, and it's like Chelsea time. I'm always taking care of everyone else, but that's my time.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, people... and I don't know about everyone else, but like I learned to like really appreciate and love cooking. Like cooking is a beautiful art. It's fun. It's
therapeutic.
It's therapeutic. Even when it doesn't taste good, I'm like, okay, I won't do that one again. But like it was still fun, and like we can laugh, and you know, and you're also getting to entertain people through food. And I think
Yeah.
I think cooking, more people should cook more and like really enjoy it.
So my son is 8 years old, and he has been allergic to a lot of different things. So
Okay.
peanut allergy, high peanut allergy, right?
That's a challenge.
And
Yeah.
Until recently, we weren't giving him any egg either, because that was a thing that would. So we had him retested, and the doctor said, you know, go ahead and try it. So we've been trying some different egg things, and he has fallen in love with scrambled eggs.
Oh, nice.
So which is good.
No allergy.
Because then, you know, he's not eating other stuff. He wants to have a high protein, kind of healthy egg.
Nice.
Sure.
So, speaking to the fun factor of cooking, right? He asked for some eggs the other day.
You made green eggs.
I did not make green eggs,
Oh.
but I made him an omelet that I flipped in the pan.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, what? I was like,
Yeah.
so then I taught him how to do it.
Cool.
And so now I think he'll.
Now
So
you're
that's-
going to get omelets every Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah. 8-year-old turning on the oven. I'm not so sure I'm ready for. But
Hey, I teach cooking classes for kids here in the cities, and
Oh, you
I am
do?
super
You do?
impressed. I do.
that would be awesome. So I think that would be super fun.
That's what we should do. We
We
should have you
totally should.
in, and we should do a little, like,
Or we should go
or we should go.
on location.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Usurance.
Usurance podcast on location.
Okay.
I think that would be awesome.
I love it. I love it. I really do. When you were saying part of it is just education, I think bringing it to the younger generation, I think is our job in this you know, it's our job at this age to teach the younger generation the importance of food and why
'cause if
eating
we
healthy
don't,
is good. And
They're not going to get it in the
Right.
school.
They need the skills to eat and sustain themselves too
They
once
do.
they get out of school.
Yep, that's right.
And
Similar to finances and everything else, they got to have that
Yep.
skill set.
so they're just whipping it up in the kitchen.
Yeah.
At what age does this start? Oh, sorry.
I usually get 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
Anywhere from 8 into the teens.
Yeah, that's great.
Amazing.
Some of them are incredible. Sometimes I feel like, oh my gosh, he knows more than I do.
They're on that
Some
show.
of them, they watch all the shows now.
Yeah, that's
The-
such a trend.
Yeah.
I
so
love it.
It's
That's
cute
cool.
to see them involved and engaged and ask all these questions about food, and they want to know the science behind the food.
Oh, really?
Interesting.
So yeah, so I've been trying to do more science-based cooking.
I
Yeah,
love
so
it.
they understand like the reason why you have something in a recipe and the structure. Because once you understand the science behind food, then you know what things you can substitute, things you can add
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. My mother-in-law's brilliant at that.
Really?
Yeah. Kitchen, what does she call it? Kitchen math or kitchen something? But yeah. My wife will ask her, how did you make this? Well, I don't know. I just,
Because now she can swap things
Right.
out. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Experiment
So,
enough, and you'll.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. You know, and I think it is very true. It's so trendy right now. All the kids are just watching all the baking shows and the cooking shows, and they're learning all
Yeah,
this. And
it's
so, what a
exciting.
fun experience you bring to them is like, now it's your turn, and you can make a little cooking show out of it.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
really fun.
So fun. In fact, I think that would be an excellent little shop, like workshop over here.
Totally.
Obviously, we're all about
Let's do it.
science.
We could do it.
And food.
Talk about the
Let's do 'em.
science of
Ah.
food and
I love it.
yeah.
Ah.
I think we should talk more about that.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for making the trip down here today.
Absolutely.
We couldn't be more in support of what you're doing and what you're building, and I really, really mean it. I hope all of our listeners go check out her blog. It's really, really incredible. So let's leave them with the URL, and then any last words that you want to say or leave people with, feel free.
How to follow you, how to get a hold
Sure.
of you, all that
Yes.
stuff.
You can go to my website at ranellekirchner.com. That's RANELLEKIRCHNER. Just thought I'd have a very unique name, so
Yeah.
I thought I'd
That's
spell
fair.
it out for you.
I'll put it in the notes
Yeah.
too, but yeah.
I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I'm on, all the social media stuff.
Perfect.
But then on my blog, you can go to my website and find my blog information there. But I really want people to know that it is easy to make these changes. You just have to be willing to make these changes. And please start small. Just think one thing you can change in your diet, in your lifestyle to get you to a healthier you.
Yeah.
Because it starts with you. And you have to be invested into your health. Do you want to be around? And I'm sure there's many people who do.
Right.
So just think of that and have that motivation.
Right.
Love it.
Couldn't agree more. Any last words, Clint?
No,
No.
I just started eating
Yeah.
spinach recently, so
Oh,
a thing.
you're adding green to your rainbow of foods?
I'm adding green,
Nice.
or at least that particular kind of green.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really
Yes.
appreciate
So great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you guys so
Thank
much.
you.
And leave in the comments if you think mushroom ice cream is a yes or a no. I'm serious about this.
it. I'll bring you some.
Yeah, okay, sounds good.